Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blazing bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will set again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icewind Dale, head out to Chull or Shadowfell. Hey, hey, together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss. Hey, hey, bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will set again. Idle champions.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to another... Hey, my audio is working this week. To another edition of Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show. I am Gaarawarr, and I'll be the one tutorialing this show. That doesn't work. With me today in the Mod Pod is Trevor. Trevor's going to be, doing the backstage documents, and grabbing your questions, and generally being the community manager. Because that's the Trevor. Trevor's in chat, folks. Trevor's in chat. Some people are new and won't understand what a Trevor is, but other people can show them. Today we are going to be talking about, the 2022 Champions, Part 2. Part 2, what does that mean? Well, every year, CNE releases a whole slew of champions. At least 17, but potentially up to like 18, 19 at a time. Because you get one champion every event. There's 17 champions, or 17 events in a year. And then, evergreens. I know where I was going with that. Saturday mornings, folks. So there's a lot of champions that get released in a year. So the first time I did this, I was like, hey, let's just do a wrap up of all of them, the entire year in January. Mistakes were made, covering 18 champions in a 2-hour show. Doesn't fly. So now we break it up. Every 3 months we talk about who came out in the prior 3 months. So today we're talking about Ghazrick, we're talking about Dungeon Master, we're talking about Nordom, and we're talking about Merylwen. Right now. We're talking about them right now. So I have them loaded up on the screen. I'm running through a little While Beyond the Witchlight in the background while we talk. I should probably just pause. So we're going to dive into these. If you have questions about these 4 characters, fire away in chat. Just understand, for the first hour, I'm just going to be talking. I won't be answering questions. However, Trevor will be grabbing your questions from chat. see, people didn't put enough Triavors in. There's some Triavors. Trevor will be grabbing your questions in chat and putting them in a document. And in the second hour of the show, because it's a 2-hour show, I will answer those questions. I will hit anything that's on the topic first, and then free for all about idle champions. Yep. All right. Away we go. We're going to start off with Ghazrick. Ghazrick arrived in the game from Rivals of Waterdeep and joins Dahani and Celise and Shaka so far. I believe there are still some more coming, maybe? I think? I could be wrong. I don't know. They've had a number of characters in their game over the years. I don't know how many they were putting here. They are a gnome. Rock! I believe it's rock gnome. But I prefer to go, they're a gnome. Rock! Druid. Support gold find. Neutral good. Neutral good. Yes, the parrot emote is Trevor, folks. That's Trevor's in chat. Melee attack or basic attack is magical, actually, not melee. You can see by this little icon here. Frostbite. Ghazrick attacks the closest enemy with magic, dealing damage with a chance to stun them. It doesn't say how much of a chance, but there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance. Do I have information on the exact chance? 50% chance that the enemy is stunned for 2 seconds. All right, had to go to my own guide for that because it's not in the game. Let's level them up and see what else we got going on here. So already you can see some strange stuff just happened on the screen. It looks like there's snowflake icons underneath champions now. He's also got some kind of wheeled cart in front of him. What's going on, folks? What's going on? Let's start off. Let's figure it out. Level 10, Frosty Friendship. Ghazrick increases the damage of all champions in a snowflake shape. This doesn't mean the champions have to be shaped like snowflakes. It means the buff extends out from Ghazrick in the shape of a snowflake. The damage bonus depends on how far away they are from Ghazrick, with the effect increasing for each slot. So in this current setup, you can see a snowflake shape must be some form of angledness action going on, and we can see, basically there's lines that are coming out from him in the shape of a snowflake, and whoever is at the farthest extreme of that line gets the highest version of the buff. So, like, if we look at Dungeon Master, we look at incoming effects, Frosty Friendship, 3,951%. But Merylwen was all the way at the end, and we can see that that's it in 4.34 EO4%. So, definitely goes up the further away you are. So keep in mind, you want Ghazrick as far away from your DPS as possible. What's interesting, and boy, I picked the wrong formation layout for this. Ghazrick's effect will jump gaps. So if where Dungeon Master was just a hole in the formation, Ghazrick don't care. Ghazrick will still buff along that line, and it'll go all the way over here. So he creates situations where there have been some pretty wild shaped formations. Let's see, what does Midsummer look like? I don't think Midsummer was too wild. Oh yeah, here you go. An Eliwix formation. You could put Ghazrick right here in the back at this bottom, and Ghazrick would buff right here, and also right here, as well as along that line, right? So he can skip and jump and hop right over these gaps and start buffing in pretty wild places around a formation. And again, the furthest away that the enemy, the champion that is furthest away is going to get the biggest buff. So ideally, that's how you're organizing things. Ideally, that's how you're organizing things when you're placing Ghazrick. That is your placement queue in the formation. Traveling merchant. Ghazrick now travels with a portable stall. Hey, that's what that is. To sell his merch. Increases the gold find bonus by 100% for each Rivals of Waterdeep member in the formation, including himself. So, small bonus, just right up front. relatively, depending on what your items are, because, hey, there's an item for that. Over here, we can look, it's at about, even with mine, it's about 500. But keep in mind, the more Rivals of Waterdeep you include in your formation, again, there's a total of 4 currently, the bigger that goal find bonus is going to get. Armor Ablation. This is a completely new ability that arrived with Ghazrick. It doesn't appear on any other champion. Ghazrick's cold attacks lower an enemy's armor threshold by 15% for 30 seconds. Only applies to armored enemies. Stacks up to 30 times, but each stack tracks its own duration. So, there's a lot to unpack here. For those of you who are newer, and maybe, well, you've probably run into an armored enemy by now in the event. It's basically that enemy that has that kind of segmented health. I think maybe did I see one over here? They'll have like segmented health, so their health looks like it's just in chunks. This boss is gonna look that way. Nope, no, it's not. It's the 10 boss, level 10 boss. Of course. This boss should look that way. Yeah, there we go. This isn't armored, but this is segmented health. So it would look like this, but then on top of these segments, it would have a little shield, a little gray shield. Not heart, but a little gray shield that forms on top of the segments. That's letting you know it's armored. And what it requires is a minimum amount of damage to break through each chunk and remove a segment. This is a way that requires, it's kind of a way to force you to make sure that your formation is survivable. Like it can handle damage for a period of time, because you are going to have to hit that armored thing for quite a while before you can actually kill it. So that's what's going on with the armor. Now, with Armor Ablation, what we're doing is, normally there are 50 segments on an armored thing. Not always, but that tends to be the common boss, is 50 segments. So you divide the health of the boss by 50 to determine the damage threshold. And what this does is, hey, this is going to reduce that threshold by 15%. And it stacks, right? So it can really reduce the amount of damage needed by quite a bit if you can stack it up to full. Now, he applies this with his basic attack. As we can see right now, the attack cooldown is 5 seconds. Obviously, if it only lasts for 30 seconds, you're not going to get 30 stacks on it, right? Normally. There are some shenanigans that can happen with Ghazrick and interactions with other champions. You might say put them next to a champion that speeds up their basic attack, or lets them get extra hits. This means you're going to be triggering more stacks. The bigger one is if we we drop them next to somebody named Narak. Let me level Narak all the way up. And well, not all the way, almost all the way. And what happens is this changes everything about this ability in terms of the numbers, because Narak can boost a champion's formation abilities if they have wisdom high enough to qualify for Narak's bonus. So now suddenly we're reducing the threshold by 30% for 60 seconds, right? So we've extended, we've not only increased how much we're dropping the threshold, we're increasing how long it sticks around for, and this then becomes very easy to stack up to full. So this is the kind of interaction you're looking for, some kind of interaction with Ghazrick if you really want to stack that up as high as possible. Just understand that that's literally Narak's only function in a formation. He doesn't do anything but that. So it's kind of got to be worth it. It's kind of got to be worth it. But it might be in your situation. It's hard to say. Control Weather is the next ability. Ghazrick causes enemies to take an additional amount of damage in areas where it is snowing. Yep, it's spring here. Does this mean that you can only use Ghazrick and Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden? No, but hey, I'm not saying that. No, it's you could definitely use Ghazrick there. It's not snowing everywhere there though. There is a reason this exists, and we're gonna get to it right now. Ghazrick's ultimate is called Sleet Storm. Let's go talk about Sleet. This is fantastic. Sleet Storm. Ghazrick summons a Sleet Storm above the nearest enemy, dealing damage and freezing the ground in a large AoE radius. The frozen ground lasts for 30 seconds, slowing enemies by 50% while they travel through it. If not already snowing, it begins to snow until the area changes. Folks, I mean, you've heard of making it rain. Ghazrick makes it snow, folks. Check this out. Boom, there's a Sleet Storm, and here come the snowflakes. This is just going to continue. For as long as you're on this area, it's going to snow. Now, you change areas, it's going to stop, right? But for as long as we're here, it's going to snow. This is great for boss levels. So his ultimate is basically a boss killer. Or if you're having real troubles pushing forward, it may be that, hey, the only time you can kill everybody off is when you can make it snow, and everybody takes more damage, right? So keep in mind, hey, as long as we sit here, it's just going to keep snowing. We'll sit here for a while because I like the snow. In terms of specializations, decent options here. We can go Genius with Gold, where it increases the gold boost by 200%. So if you're running multiple Rivals of Waterdeep and you want to make that gold, hey, Genius with Gold. Aim Around Armor increases the duration of armor ablation by 100%. So originally it was 30 seconds. This will double it to 60 seconds. So if you want more stacks but you don't have somebody to help you boost it like Narak, or someone to make you attack faster, or maybe you have the attack faster, you also want the double duration, here you go. Because you're dealing with lots of armored stuff, you have an option for that. Then there's Finesse with Frost. Ghazrick increases the effective control weather by 200%. So that's what we're doing right here. This bonus from the snow. I'm just going to go ahead and pop that one. So you have decent options based off what you need from Ghazrick in that situation. Yep, that's everything. Item wise, we have a pair of Damage All Champions items, which is what you would expect out of a support. We get Frosty Friendship. That's the Snowflake buff, right? Which is good to have an ability, an item for. We get Traveling Merchant. That's your gold find. So there is a gold find boosting item. We get Boots of the Blizzard. This is, or the Control Weather. This is the snow falling down. So we get to boost all of his major abilities with an item, and then all we do with the ultimate is reduce its cooldown. There's no damage bonus item from the ultimate, but honestly, this is kind of better because ultimately what you're getting, pun intended, is you want to be able to fire that ultimate off as often as possible. The damage really is the boost. Feat wise, we get Damage All Champions. We can target, he's got some options here. We can target Frosty Friendship, obviously, with that very specific one. You can get a gold find boost with Traveling Merchant. Now there is a Constitution +1. This is going to qualify you for Vajra, if my brain is working. Constitution +1, and then there's a Strength +2, and this is going to qualify you for Zariel. These are patrons. So keep those in mind. That's what the stat feats are for. But really the only bonus that you're really boosting, there's a pair of Frosty Friendships, and then there's one gold find bonus. He should really have some generic gold find feats as a gold find champion. They kind of missed that. Maybe they'll hit it on another pass. All right. Next up, probably one of the biggest kind of, I don't know, there was a surprise. Maybe I think when it was announced, it was probably a surprise. Champion arrivals to the game. Dungeon Master. Dungeon Master arrives from the 80s cartoon series. We're going in the Wayback Machine, folks. Dungeon Master was the official 100th champion in Idle Champions. So because they were hitting that major milestone, they went all out and brought back the Dungeon Master. And the art is very much in that style. He's got his skin. It's the Archmagi. That's usually what I'm running, but we'll keep him in the red. Dungeon Master is a very, very unique champion. They introduced mechanics that didn't really exist in the game before they arrive. I mean, not in a functional way. They do unique stuff. So you kind of have to understand why they exist and what they bring to your team, because it's unusual, as is Dungeon Master themselves. Right off the bat, you'll notice, hey, they don't have any stats over here on the left side. It's all question marks. Functionally speaking, they're all high numbers. I think they're all like 18 or 19 behind the scenes, but functionally it's like, hey, doesn't matter. He's all the stats because he's the Dungeon Master, right? Turns out Dungeon Master, shocker, human wizard, lawful good, in the game, healing, support, and gold find. Basic attack, magic missile. Dungeon Master fires white rays at a random enemy as a magical attack. But honestly, you're not going to see that a whole lot for reasons. All right, there's a level 0 ability. What is a level 0 ability, folks? These are recent additions to the game. And when you see a level 0 ability, it means this kicks in even before they're in a formation. Dungeon Master rules. Dungeon Master is eligible to start in all adventures, even if the patron, variant, or other restrictions would say otherwise. Why? Because the Dungeon Master makes the rules. They went very meta here, and I love it. So once you pick up Dungeon Master, there isn't an adventure or variant that you won't be able to use him in. He can go everywhere. Now, there has been some confusion about this, because there are adventures where as you play along through the adventure or the variant, the rules have some kind of stickly thing about a champion or champions being removed, or a bench slot not being able to be used at various times. I want to be very clear here. There is an order of operation to Dungeon Master rules. Dungeon Master rules means you can place Dungeon Master in the formation based off any variant restrictions. What are variant restrictions, or any rules about something? If we go look at the rules of something like this, let's find one that would actually apply. Only champions with a dex of 15 or higher can be used. So when you see restrictions on a variant, or even an adventure, with something like this that would exclude champions, Dungeon Master can always appear in this variant. He ignores those rules. So even in the case of like Mert as a patron, Mert says only good or evil champions can be used. Dungeon Master is lawful good, but if this was lawful neutral, Dungeon Master could still do Mert stuff. Right? That's what it's saying. That's what this is saying. Once that goes into effect, you pull them into an adventure. If something in the adventure causes Dungeon Master to get booted, that random roll, that a bench slot can't be used for a certain period of time, or you've used it for a certain number of levels and now you're not allowed to use it for more, or you have a bully that's knocking you out of a formation, Dungeon Master can suffer those effects. But Dungeon Master can always start off an adventure. Okay. Into the leveling abilities. Patience, young ones. Dungeon Master increases the damage of all champions by 100% for each champion in the formation that is 20 years or younger, stacking multiplicatively. If the sum of the 6 youngest champions' ages is 100 years or less, the bonus is increased by 400% post-stack. So Dungeon Master, this right away, this tells you Dungeon Master prefers to be in groups with younger adventurers. Again, thematically speaking, this fits with, the cartoon series. Arguably not. There's one reason usually most people are using Dungeon Master, and this isn't it. But we'll get there. Words of encouragement. Dungeon Master adds a number of temporary hit points to the entire party upon entering an area when Dungeon Master is present. I mean, Gaarawarr, shouldn't he always be present? I ask myself on camera. No. We're going to get to that. They give you this ability with these rules, and then they explain it in the next ability. So just know that every time you enter a new area, if Dungeon Master is in your formation, you're going to get some temp HP. Disappearing Act. Just like the TV show, Dungeon Master kind of just up and disappears sometimes. Upon entering a new area, there's a 50% chance that Dungeon Master does not appear in the formation and is replaced by a frightened Uni the Unicorn. While Dungeon Master is away, the formation's gold find is increased by an amount. If you return to a previously competed area, Dungeon Master is always with the formation. So let's see if we can get Uni to trigger. Well, not there. But we do see, hey, we got those temp HP points, right? So that's working right. At some point as we're moving forward, Uni is going to appear instead of the Dungeon Master. Yeah. There we go. There's Uni the Unicorn. Not frightened. Usually there's like this cowering effect, and for some reason that's not triggering at the moment, but that's okay. That's okay. So that's what it looks like. Now we've got gold find to the party instead of any kind of buffs. There we go. Dungeon Master's back. All right, specializations. I am going to have to... Bad Gaarawarr. There are actually 3 specializations, folks. I should have done this in a variant. Let's look at these 2. Where did he go this time? The chance Dungeon Master doesn't join the formation in Disappearing Act is increased to 75%, and the gold find amount is also increased by 100%. So if you would like more gold find, but you don't care about the temp HP shields, you do this one. Oh, that's true. The party needs to be attacked. Now Uni's cowering. I thought it was just all the time, but all right, there we go. Uni's cowering like a coward. The other specialization, Fear Not, champions. The chance Dungeon Master doesn't join the formation in Disappearing Act is decreased to 25%, and the temporary hit points gained by words of encouragement are increased by 100%. Increased by 100%. So, you basically choose, do you want more gold find? Or do you want more temp HP? That's your choice here between these 2. There is a third option that currently is not showing. We will hop into something that will allow that to show after I talk about everybody else. We'll come back to that. But I will talk about it kind of right now. There is a third option. I'm trying to pull it up since I totally spaced. It is a smart system for specializations with Dungeon Master. If it wouldn't be an option, it doesn't show up, which is kind of cool. Dungeon Master has a specialization called Special Guest Star. Dungeon Master uses his powers to plane shift in one random champion that is normally not eligible for the adventure. So Dungeon Master brings a friend along. If there are any bench seats with no eligible champions, so whatever restrictions just removed an entire bench, an eligible champion from one of those seats, is always chosen. Otherwise, an ineligible champion from a random seat is chosen. So there are people who have been like, why is it I'm only getting champions from this one bench slot and I'm not getting any of the others in this variant? And it's because that's the rules. If that bench slot, if no champions from that bench slot that you own are allowed, that's the one that Dungeon Master is going to pull from. The champion cannot be from Dungeon Master's seat, however, because 2 champions from the same seat, not something the game does. All right. So what this means is a lot of people will, when they're doing a really restrictive variant, they will pull Dungeon Master in to the variant. They'll level them up to the specialization choice just to see, hey, who's Dungeon Master going to bring in potentially? Is that person powerful enough for me to want to use Dungeon Master and them? Is that a better option than just someone else? Like two other people. And sometimes it is. Sometimes the answer is, oh yeah. Also, sometimes you get variants that are so restrictive, especially in the patron versions, where you just don't have very many. You just don't have very many champions to choose from. So bringing in Dungeon Master, being qualified, and then having Dungeon Master bring in someone that isn't allowed can be a huge difference. Now, no matter how many times you respec Dungeon Master, say use a potion of specialization to try to trigger a new special guest star, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. If you want to get a different option as a special guest star, you have to start the variant over. Sometimes people do this. Have I done this? Yes. Is that the intention of Dungeon Master? Not really. But if you want to min-max Dungeon Master and spend a lot of time trying to get that one perfect champion that you know is available, you can. I've done it. On stream. That was real boring to watch, I'm sure. I think I spent like 15 to 20 minutes restarting adventures until I got the exact perfect champion. Yeah, but that's not the intended... Just understand that's not the intended gameplay use. But, hey, if you want to give yourself carpal tunnel, you go right ahead. I think that's it, except for his ultimate. His ultimate's also unique, folks. Imagine that. Invigorate. Dungeon Master waves his hands, and the ultimate ability with the longest remaining cooldown immediately recharges. The cooldown for this ultimate is set to the time the recharged ultimate had left. Dungeon Master increases the damage of all champions in the formation for half of the time his ultimate is cooling down. So this is a damage buff, but more importantly, it allows you to double trigger ultimates. Just one. And yes, you can figure out, you can manually choose, I want to fire ultimate A, and then I want to fire it immediately again. That's what you want to do. You want to look at what are my options? What ultimate would really serve best out of the ones I have to fire off twice in a row, and then you go do that, and then you go do that, and you enjoy it, and you get a damage bonus at the same time. This also works if Dungeon Master's on screen, like right now. Oh my god, this is great! It lined up perfectly for once. Uni the Unicorn is on the screen, right? I just fired off Sleet Storm. I'm going to hit this. Keep an eye over here on the left-hand side of the screen, back behind Ghazrick. Hey, is that a Dungeon Master? It's the best. It's the best. He's just like, hey! And he resets the ultimate, and then he disappears again. Oh, whoever at CNE had the genius idea to have him be like, and then disappear again. Kudos. That's the best thing ever. So yeah, whether a Dungeon Master is available on the screen or not, visible on the screen or not, you can still fire this off and get your bonuses. Which is pretty fantastic. Okay. Moving forward. Gear. Hey, damage all champions items. We get a Patience Young Ones items, Words of Encouragement. So this is the temp HP. Disappearing Act. So yeah, great. And then increase the effect of Invigorate. So that's the damage all champions bonus. Is the item there. So really a full set of items, which kind of needs, because on his own, Dungeon Master isn't the most amazing champion in the world. The strongest part of Dungeon Master is the manipulation he can do with other champions. So bringing in a special guest star, really huge. This is most of the time that you're seeing Dungeon Master use. This is why. But also that ability to redo ultimates twice in a row. that can be huge in some situations. So these are the reasons why you would use him. And hey, they've given him lots of items and effectiveness to go along with that, right? Feat-wise, damage all champions. You get Patience Young Ones, a bunch of them. You get Words of Encouragement for the Temp HP Shield. You get the Disappearing Act. So he's kind of across the board there. Again, a champion that didn't, for some reason, get basic gold find feats. Oops. Oh well. Up next, a champion that, I mean, for years, people are always asking, when are we getting, are we ever going to get this champion? Is this champion ever going to show up? And finally, they kind of caved. And they added them as an NPC that you run into. But then finally, Nordom, the backwards Modron, arrived in the game. Nordom, non-binary Modron fighter. Plays a support role in the game, lawful neutral. No affiliation. I mean, I guess you could say Mechanus? Probably not anymore, though. Who knows? Nordom arrives. Nordom attacks with gear spirits that are in the form of crossbows. Nordom simultaneously fires 2 crossbows at the closest 2 enemies. These are ranged attacks, as you can see with the arrow icon. Nordom has one major function in formations, but let's talk about everything else that he comes with. 4 mortally ranks. Nordom increases damage of all champions in the column ahead of him by an amount. So you want to place, this is your formation placement queue, you want Nordom behind whoever your DPS is. You can see the arrows are saying, hey, I'm buffing ahead of me, right? Hey, look at that. So that's your formation placement queue. Rule of law, Nordom increases the effect of form orderly ranks by 100% for each lawful champion in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. So if your formation has lots of lawful champions in it, you're going to get a big bonus. So that's very specific. That's a very specific thing that may not always happen, but it's something that you want to keep an eye out for. The stacking multiplicatively is the good way of stacking. So if you have a bunch of lawful champions, this bonus could get a real big, real quick. Real big, real quick. What are we looking at so far? There's only 2, so it's only 300%. Not that big of a deal, but it can go up and up and up. Specialization-wise, we have Piercing Bolts versus Explosive Bolts. So Piercing Bolts, enemies hit by Nordom's Gear Spirit's attack take 100% more damage for the next 10 seconds. So this is effectively a damage debuff. Stacks up to 2 times additively, and the timer resets if it applies again before the 10 seconds are up. So that means usually if you're attacking a boss over and over and over again, you're going to keep it at max stacks and max bonus, hopefully. So that you can do as much damage as possible. This is a functionality change for his basic attack, for their basic attack, excuse me. Explosive Bolts, Nordom's Gear Spirit's attacks explode upon impact, pushing the target back a short distance. So this is a crowd control function. If for some reason you want to play a little bit of crowd control with things that are going on, you would go Explosive Bolts. But generally speaking, if you want to, if you want the maximum pushing effectiveness of Nordom, the left spec. Piercing Bolts. Okay, now, I guess you could call it the core of Nordom's kit. Get it, Modrons? Modron Core Toolbox. Nordom increases the amount of experience gained on the Modron Core attached to his adventuring party when completing new areas by a percent. It starts off at a fairly small percent. I have ramped mine up quite a bit. This basically means more experience. It means you level your core faster. Folks, if you have been trying to level your core and it seems like it's taking, and I'm quoting the Sandlot here, forever, Nordom might be the champion for you. When they released Nordom, they also had released around the similar time a magic core. I ramped this ability up with blacksmithing contracts and through a feat. He's got a feat for that. and threw him in and leveled, and yeah, leveled up that core in no time, right? Arguably limited effectiveness, because once you've leveled up your Modron core, well, you don't need that bonus anymore, right? But the developers have stated they want to keep adding more cores, lots of cores, potentially more cores than there are parties, which means, hey, potentially lots of leveling to do in the future. So I felt totally fine throwing some major support to Modron Core Toolbox, so that I don't have to spend as much time leveling that core, right? Some people alternately, you could just have lots of speed champions that jump hundreds of levels, and you do you, boo. But just know this is a functionality that can be increased based off gear and item levels. And that is it. That's Nordom's kit. Nordom, however, has arguably, I'm going to wait till the boss dies here, arguably the best, the most visually satisfying ultimate in the entire game. Out of all 100 plus champions. Are you ready for this, folks? The frequent Modron march. A multitude of Modrons march from left to right over 15 seconds, pushing all enemies back a short distance and dealing ongoing massive damage as they pass. This is 15 seconds of screen-wide damage, which on its own, I'm a fan of. The visuals, though, folks. The visuals. Here we go. You ready for this? I don't know that you're ready for this. I don't know if you haven't seen this before. I don't know if you're ready for this. I don't know if are they done? Oh, hey, you know what? Let me just invigorate. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Let's just bring it back. Why not? Oh God. I love it. I love that there's different types too, and they're moving at different speeds, and it's just fantastic. And they're all doing damage. What a wonderful ultimate, folks. Keep in mind that with the Bud system, base ultimate damage, as you can see down here with the little lightning bolt symbol, you can bring a champion in, level them up, throw them out. When you want an ultimate to happen, you can just swap that champion in, mash their ultimate button, and get the full damage based off Bud and all the functionality. So Nordom is an ideal champion to have in your toolbox. I'm not stopping. He's got so many perfect puns. To bring in situations where you need to do massive amounts of screen-wide damage, or maybe you've got armored enemies or hit-based enemies, and you just need to hit all the things repeatedly for 15 seconds. Just swap Nordom in, hit the ultimate, enjoy, swap back to whatever your regular formation was. All right. Gear-wise... these puns write themselves. Damage all champions. We get form orderly ranks. That's the buff for ahead of him. We get the Modron Core Toolbox. So this is the one, like, as you see, I've got a golden epic here, and I've got it leveled 581. I just, pumped it up a lot. Then we get ultimate attacks and ultimate cooldown. That's great because we definitely want all of this for his ultimate. Feat-wise, damage all champions, form orderly ranks, rule of law. So that lawful, that really niche lawful one that doesn't have any item support, does have feat support. There's an 80% Modron Core Toolbox bonus. That's a 50k gem feat, but if you're invested in leveling up your cores fast, it's worth it, in my opinion. So he does have a variety of feat options. You know what? I'm going to change skins over because Nordom's skin is Steampunk Nordom, and it's just fantastic. Look at that, folks. Look at Steampunk Nordom. That's just great. Okay, I don't think Ghazrick has it. Oh, he does. Archdruid. He has an Archdruid skin. I just don't own it. All right. Last but certainly not least, I know you've been asking, Merylwen? Meryl now. Merylwen joins us from the Oxventurers Guild, along with Corazon, Prudence, and Rust. They are a wood elf druid, neutral alignment support, and gold find. And boy, do they find that gold for you. Merylwen, upon arrival, basically ousted some other gold find champions from in-game Azaka farming. And yeah, it's great. Merylwen's great for the gold find, folks. If for no other reason, Merylwen's great for the gold find. Base attack is magical. Merylwen attacks a random energy with a magical spray of poison. Because bows, why? Why? I don't know. It's just visual. They like the aesthetic. But let's cast magic. Abilities. A neutral party. Merylwen increases the damage of all neutral champions in the formation by an amount. But it's only on the good and evil axis. What the heck does that mean, Gaarawarr? This one over here. If you see this, neutral good, Merylwen doesn't work. If you see the words good or evil in the alignment, Merylwen is not going to work. Merylwen will not buff them because it says neutral on the good-evil axis. So good and evil cannot appear if you want Merylwen to buff them. Okay, now if I come over here, a lawful good. Well, nope, I see good. That ain't going to work either. Over here, lawful neutral. Hey, now we've found somebody that Merylwen applies to. The neutral has to be on the right side, if you want to think about it that way. Or just, hey, if you see good or evil, that buff does not apply. Liquidity. This is the gold find. Merylwen increases gold find by 100% for each Oxventurers Guild champion in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. So again, multiple Oxventurers Guild people are going to get you more gold. This does have item support. And I believe feat support as well. We'll check when we get to feats. So this can get to a very nice number. So right now we're already at 1,000%. And because it's multiplicative, that can go up quickly. Very, very quickly. Wild shape. At the start of each non-boss area, Merylwen takes on the form of a wild cat. She no longer makes normal attacks, but the attack speed cooldown of every adjacent champion is reduced by half a second. If there are ever 15 or more enemies on the screen, Merylwen transforms back to her normal form and starts attacking until the party switches areas. So let's trigger this effect. Boom. Cat. There's a cat, folks. Cat on the screen. Cat on the screen. Boom. And any champion adjacent to the cat is attacking faster. You would think it would be the other way around because everybody stops and pets the cat, but no. It makes them attack faster. Punishing puns. Hey, we're on theme here. Merylwen likes the puns. While in her elf form, Merylwen boosts a neutral party by an amount for each enemy on the screen, stacking additively. So this is a bonus to that neutral party bonus that only works on the neutral good-evil axis. This means your DPS needs to be neutral on the good-evil axis or made to count as neutral somehow. There might be an Oxventurer that does that. For you to use Merylwen with them, right? And as more and more enemies stack up on the screen because your DPS doesn't have the damage to kill them, Merylwen's gonna buff them so that they potentially can kill them. That's the good kind of ramping bonus. Normally you see these on tanks, but they're distributing them to more supports, which is nice. We're going to look at specialization choices. I consider these 3 functional choices based off how you need them, which isn't always the case for specializations, but I feel like they did a good job with Merylwen. Stink like skunk. Merylwen's normal attack makes hit enemies stink like skunk. So whoever her attack hits, now remember she's not attacking in cat form, so this only works if they're on a boss level or if there are 15 or more enemies on the screen. Because see, boss level, she's back to her normal self, right? So, wrong button. So, Stink Like Skunk makes hit enemies take 2.5 seconds of bud damage every second for 5 seconds. This is fantastic. I'm going to tell you why. It's basically a mini fire breath potion, but based off her attacks. It means as a support champion, if your bud is high enough, Merylwen can take damage off armored bosses. She can take those chunks off. Whereas normally when you're pushing close to your wall, the only person that can take chunks off of a boss is the DPS or ultimates, right? Well, Stink Like Skunk potentially triggers Merylwen to do that. Again, you have to have enough damage, but great. Because normally your support and your tank stuff, the damage falls off and only the DPS is doing the damage. Well, this changes that. So if you want a little assistance to get through armored things a little faster, Merylwen may help with that. Merylwen may help with that. It depends on what your bud looks like. Treasures her friends. This is the gold find boost. So Merylwen gains an encouragement stack each second that an enemy is not defeated, capping at 300 stacks. So that's 5 minutes, folks, because math. For each encouragement stack, the gold find of liquidity is increased by 100%, stacking additively. Remember, that's 300 stacks, folks, at 100% per stack. So it gets up there. When an enemy is defeated or the party changes areas, the stacks are reset to 0. So basically, the longer it takes you to clear the enemies off the screen, the more gold find Merylwen is going to provide your party. This literally written for Azaka farming. I mean, it had to be. Because in a Azaka farm situation, you remove all but one enemy from the screen, and then you never kill it. You just bully it for its lunch money. This is perfect for that. This is why Merylwen was an instant add into Azaka farms. Just fantastic. Just fantastic. So in the final one, Meowlwyn, Merylwen's wild shape attack speed cooldown reduction is increased by 1 second. So it started at a half a second and it goes to 1.5 seconds. That's a pretty good chunk. And persists when she's in her elf form. So if what you want out of Merylwen is attack speed, always like constant attack speed reduction to adjacent champions, boom, you have that option. So again, 3 functional options depending on what you need out of Merylwen. I love it. Love it. Okay, let's level her all the way up. Throw a familiar over there. Oh yeah, the only thing we have left to talk about is the ultimate. It's brutal. It's a brutal ultimate, folks. Yeah. Okay. Merylwen's meat grinder is as horrible as you would expect it to be. Stone spikes come out of the ground with a 30-second duration. So for 30 seconds, it's just going to be like chunking damage. Enemies take massive damage over time while in the area of the ultimate. Here we go. It is going to be placed. It is not in a fixed position, but it is a fixed location on the screen. So enemies do need to be traversing through this area to be caught in the meat grinder. So any bosses that are hanging out back here aren't going to get hit by it if we let the... just as it wore off. You know what? I've got an ultimate for that. Bring it back. So... as they hit that area, if we pull everybody else out, Uni could have stayed in. Uni wasn't going to do anything. Oh well. As they walk into the area, they're just going to take massive damage and fall over. Massive damage and fall over. That's what's going on. You notice the cat is now in a very unhappy situation. And now it's back to normal. All based off what's going on. Stop hitting me. Stop hitting me. That's what the cat's saying. I'm translating for you. All right. That's the meat grinder. That's the meat grinder. All right. Item-wise, increase the damage of all champions. 1 item. because we get a lot of other stuff going on. We get a neutral party item. We get a liquidity item. That's the gold find one. This one's real nice to level up. We get the punishing puns one. This is the boost back onto a neutral party. That's the ramping bonus. That one's nice too. We get ultimate attack damage. Hey, it's a meat grinder for a reason. And cooldown. Feat wise, damage all champions. We get something that actually boosts the attack speed reduction again. So perfect form additively increases the base attack cooldown reduction that Merylwen's Wild Shape provides by half a second. So this would this either makes it default 1 second or max with the specialization choice 2 seconds. Potentially a big deal if that's what you're looking for. We get a neutral party bonus and we get liquidity. And we get liquidity. Again, a gold find champion that didn't get basic gold find feats. I don't know. Note that because she is an Ox Venturers Guild champion, she has interactions with other Ox Venturers Guild peeps. Make sure. Okay, this is not stated. I'm going to read this out of my guide. This is not stated in game, so hidden effects, if you will. I don't like a lack of transparency here, but it is what it is. When you use Merylwen's Meat Grinder, there are secondary effects that are triggered based on if other Ox Venturers Guild members are part of the formation. Here's what they currently are. Corazon. If Corazon's in the formation, enemies affected by grease in the spike area, grease is an ability of Corazon, take 200% damage from all sources. So this is even more damage going on in the meat grinder if Corazon's in there, and grease is in the meat grinder area too. Prudence's glee stacks are just set to maximum. Glee stacks are a damage bonus, so you're basically, when you're hitting that ultimate for Merylwen, you're basically setting Prudence is phasers to kill. Alongside the fact that you're doing lots of damage with the ultimate. For Rust, Gold Find is increased by 1,000% for 30 seconds. Guess what, folks? Azaka farming, Rust and Merylwen, if you got them both, you throw them in, because those bonuses, the numbers they do together are just fantastic. Just fantastic. And then, that's it so far. So far, that's it. As they add more Ox Venturers Guild members, we may see more additional bonuses there. I'm seeing somebody in chat say the bonuses are mentioned in outgoing effects. That doesn't do a whole... I'm going to be honest. I don't like that they don't just... They could put it right here. They could put it all right here. They could tell you what the meat grinder does in full with its bonus abilities, and they've just chosen not to. But sure, if we come over here... under formation buffs, this is kind of the place you have to go check sometimes. Merylwen's Meat Grinder, here's the effects. But it really needs to be... I keep bringing this up. It really needs to be over here. All right. That is everyone. What I want to do is I want to leave this for a moment. Because I want to demonstrate Dungeon Master's special guest star ability. Because I knew I wanted to go to Witchlight. What I forgot is that I needed to come over here and say, hey, Strahd, let's go to the Witchlight Carnival, buddy. Come on, Uncle Strahd, take me to the Witchlight Carnival, please. So, Witchlight Carnival is going to restrict, or Strahd is going to restrict us, when you do this, to champions with an int score of 13 or higher. But remember, Dungeon Master comes in at any point in time, and now we see a new specialization showing up on the left. Special guest star. Guess what? Desmond has been chosen this time. So, again, plane shifts in one champion. If you want to use that champion, you can. And if we look over here, this was just a random, there obviously wasn't a slot that didn't allow no one, because Desmond had other options here. But yeah, so you get an option at Desmond. If I want to bring Desmond in, I choose this as the special guest star bonus. When I come over here, Desmond now has stars on his picture. He is now available. This is the way they tell you. Desmond is available via special guest star. We bring Desmond in. Desmond can do his thing now as a special guest star. The moment we remove Dungeon Master, Desmond goes away. Desmond and is now blocked. Okay, you can only use Desmond. See, we put him in. Desmond's back, and he's gone, and he's back. Desmond is linked in this way as the special guest star to Dungeon Master being on your formation. This is why people get a little upset when they play a variant where it has random rules about removing certain champions, and then they lose Dungeon Master because they also lose whoever they work to get in, right? But that's just a function. That is functioning as intended. Functioning as intended. So there we go, folks. I'm going to take a short break. Damn, we timed that real good. I'm going to come back. I'm going to answer questions. I see there's there's a small number of questions so far. So if you have more questions that have popped up in your brain spaces about these 4 champions or about the game in general, fire away in chat. Trevor will grab them. The song for the break is, we don't have an actual song for any of these champions, but there's a song for Dungeon Masters. So we're going to do that one. This one's called 3 Cheers, folks. Be back in a moment.
This one's for the Dungeon Masters, weaving stories each week anew. Scheduling can be a disaster, but they always pull us through. We raise our glass to you with heartfelt cheers, even though you brought us tears. Guided us through thick and thin for many days and many years. This one's for the NPCs, both prepared and on the fly. Denizens of the world we share, to both love and terrorize. Will our heroes live or will they die? We'll just have to improvise. Tell us to roll and give it a try, then it's time to throw the dice. 3 cheers for the Dungeon Masters, for giving us their all. 3 cheers for the story crafters. Please join us in our cause. This one's for the mighty monsters, the demons and the gods. The fireballs and lightning bolts, cast from staves, wands and rods. You're the master of the rules, the champions of lore. We raise our dice to you, 'cause you leave us wanting more. 3 cheers for the Dungeon Masters, for giving us their all. 3 cheers for the story crafters. Please join us in our cause. Cheers for the Dungeon Masters, for giving us their all. 3 cheers for the story crafters. Please join us in our cause.
Hey, we're back, folks. We're back. The whole time I have been talking, Trevor's been pulling questions from chat if you had them. It doesn't look like we have a lot so far, so fire away, folks. Because we got an hour. We got an hour. This actually 4 champions fit in an hour. We Gucci. I need more. I need more questions. Let me see what we got here. Fog Piscalo. Ghazrick or Freely for Azaka farming? This is a good question. Freely. I see people keep going, well, what if you threw a Ghazrick and you had some of these? No, Freely. What if? Nope. Freely. But what if? Nope. Nope. It's Freely. Why is it always Freely? Because Freely has multiplicatively stacking buffs to gold find. So all it takes, like if you're just looking at Freely's flat number, it might only be like 400%. And you're like, but Ghazrick's is so much bigger. But what you have to understand is that's per stack. And if you get multiple stacks, they're multiplying against each other. And all it takes is 2 stacks for most situations to just blow Ghazrick's gold find away. Now, does it visibly show up at the top left of your screen up here? No, it's an invisible boost because it causes more gold to be dropped when they die. So people who just want to see this number go up may not process that. So I'm trying to explain to you, Freely, always Freely. And no, not both. They're in the same slot. So you can't have both. It's Freely. Terramar, Dungeon Master guest star ability. Can it work and split the party to bring back someone who was previously eliminated? It shouldn't. It shouldn't. I have no way of testing that because you can only do the split the party when you have one available. So I don't know for sure, but I feel like it shouldn't. If it allows you, I don't think they're going to care too much, but it shouldn't. Yeah. I'm gonna answer this one because it's kind of Nordom related, kind of. Torvis, should you use your Mojang Core on your main team to get the buffs, or your secondary farming team for the automation? New to split the party. Well, so this is kind of Nordom related because we're going to talk about also how Nordom gives you extra XP for leveling up. So this is all kind of part of this. When you first get a Mojang Core, you want it in your active party. I understand a lot of people when it came out, and people still now think that, oh, you put the Mojang Core in the background party to automate what's going on in the background. No. I know why you think that, but it doesn't level up if you do that, because background progress real slow. 1 level every 40 seconds is what the simulation is set to. And that's 20 seconds faster than when it started. You want it in your active party because you get experience for your core based off the number of levels that you complete. So every time you complete a level, ding, there's some experience. So putting your Mojang Core in your active party, even if it's not providing a lot of buffs, is the best scenario. If you're going to run a background party, you just need to manually play it for the time being. Level up your core in your active party. Combine that with Nordom, and you're going to be leveling it even faster in your active party. But you definitely want your Mojang Core when you first get it to be in your active party, so you can level it up. Once you have a fully level 15 core, then it can go in the background. Then it doesn't really need levels anymore. If you've got other cores, you can throw one in the background by that point, and not a big deal. Emperor, question: does guest star change target if Nahara's specialization is used to make Desmond eligible? I mean, there's a lot of ifs in this question. That's probably getting into that level of crunchiness is probably a question you're going to have to aim at one of the devs on Dev Insights. Because what you're assuming here is that no one is available, like, or that the randomness, either no one is available in Desmond's slot or the random choice of guest star would land on Desmond, but you had Nahara in, so Desmond's eligible. There's a lot of weird ifs there. I don't know how to answer that. A dev's going to have to answer that. Yeah. I can tell you that I'm going to say no. Based off an interaction I have seen with another champion, Mehen, who has a specialization that allows him to bring in his daughters, the Brimstone Angels. I have had Mehen in a formation with Dungeon Master, brought the daughters in, triggered special guest star, and it's been one of the daughters. So I'm going to say that that no, it's not going to change target, because technically the game is reading it as that champion shouldn't be allowed. And another champion is breaking that rule. But does it work that way? I don't know. That's just my best guess based off an interaction I've seen with another champion that does a similar thing. Delramian, this is not a question. This is a bug. Submit a bug report. I'm going to read it. If you change groups with Dungeon Master, come back later, the special guest star is not in the formation. This is a bug. Submit a bug report. That's not a question. Just so we all understand. I'm not doing that one. Any others that are on top? Okay, here we go. Lurking Rider. Both Ghazrick and Merylwen are part of affiliations of the two groups, Rivals Waterdeep and Ox Ventures Guild. Which one do you think currently has the most utility? Ooh. Referring to the groups as a whole. I feel like they kind of focus on different things. Like Selise is an interesting tank that has like this stance dance capability, and currently has an interaction with Narak that can make her unkillable in very specific certain circumstances. Shaka has an RNG kind of buff mechanic. Dahani is a permanently stacking DPS. It's like as a whole, they kind of create a functional group. Ox Ventures have no tank currently. Corazon has the best ultimate for destroying armored bosses in the game, if you set it up correctly. Merylwen, fantastic for gold find. Especially when combined with Rust. Rust is interesting. Prudence is a very long cooldown single target DPS. So, I mean, I would say overall, I think Ox Ventures Guild, just because of the Azaka farm interaction, probably the most impactful. But really, that's just taking two of them. It's hard to say. Whenever you look at an affiliation and not all the members are there yet, you don't really have a clear picture of their overall effectiveness because it's just not there yet, right? So yeah, difficult to say. Okay, I think that's everything that was on topic. I don't know if I missed something. We'll catch it on the back. Okay, going back to the top. Safety Goth. Do you have any guidance on how to form or join a good group for Mount Tiamat? Ooh. I've got enough blood to start a master run, but just had someone in the heroic run. I just did sit on the sidelines. I'm guessing the answer is going to involve Discord. I mean, it doesn't have to involve Discord. You could use the Reddit. Yeah, or Twitch chat. I mean, depending. But if you're trying to form a pre-made group or join a pre-made group, you're going to have to hit some form of some place that's actually actively recruiting. For a long time, I just did randoms. I just did pugs, like pickup groups. I would just join or start one and just go for it and see what happened. Are you going to end up with scenarios where maybe someone gets a bug and there's no contribution, or maybe just somebody starts it and then forgets about it and then can't do anything after that, or who knows? I mean, yeah, it's going to happen. That's just the nature of the system in its current incarnation. But I never had any problem. I don't think I ever, when I was doing pickup groups, I don't think we ever failed. In fact, I know we never did. We completed all of them. So that's kind of the way the system works now until you get to the highest tiers, where you're probably going to need more dedicated people and maybe a dedicated group. Most of the time, those pickup groups are gonna function fine, even if one or even two people at times don't necessarily contribute as much as other people. I ended up in a pre-made more because people were like, "Hey, we've got a group going, and we have an open slot off and on. Would you like to join?" And I was like, sure. I haven't tried that yet. But that was because I had kind of pushed as far as I felt like I cared about pushing in the current iteration of Trials, and just wanted to farm scales at a place that I could do that consistently. So that's what we've been doing in a pre-made until they change everything. And then who knows what I'll do. I don't know if I'll keep doing the pre-made. I don't know if I'll go to a pickup group. Who knows? But yeah, I think eventually you just kind of want to hit. Is mine up? No. You kind of want to hit a place where in the current iteration, you're basically farming torment level. It is sustainable for vials, as long as everyone in a pre-made group is taking turns. You get an okay amount of scales so that you can keep popping your legendaries every week, and you never have to kind of worry about running out of potions to start. When they finally make changes, we'll see how that affects everything. Tojamara, what year has, in your opinion, released the most interesting champions and the strongest? Oh no. Is this a year-by-year tier list? Okay, hold on, folks. We are coming up on the end of year 5. Year 5 of events. That means we are almost to, we're only, wow, a month and a half, maybe a month away from the anniversary of Idle Champions. It'll be the 5-year anniversary. A tier list. Oh God, I hate how good that was. Okay, good job. So we don't have we're 2 champions off of a full picture of year 5. But I feel like I already know where I'm going with the answer here, but let me just take a quick peek. Yeah. It's gotta be year 3. Year 4 gets an honorable mention. Year 4 has Baloth, has Humon, has Orkira, has the previously mentioned Corazon, and Mehen. Mehen used to be garbage. Now the fact that he can bring his daughters in makes him fantastic. So year 4 has some nice champions. Year 5 has delivered some very unique niche-based champions. Year 1 was a little hit or miss, but has created some consistent champions, same as kind of year 2. But year 3, folks, year 3 started off the second event of the year, Avrin. at the time considered probably one of the most overpowered champions that ever came in the game. And people thought Avern was going to get nerfed through the ground. But then 2 events later, they released Krull, and Krull comparatively was so overpowered at the time that it made Avern look balanced. And then right after that, hey, let's add Artemis to the game. Right? So right off the bat, we're 5 events into year 3, and we've got 3 of what are considered some of the strongest champions in the game to this day. And then on top of that, you get to throw in Briv, who broke the speed game for until recently, and still kind of does. You get Nova, who I know competing against Avern in that slot, but who is an incredibly strong tank if you can push 1,000+ levels. Freely came in towards the end of that year. Again, Freely, multiplicatively stacking champion, right up there with Krull. Not as good as Krull, but is getting there. And then shout out to that all that year also introducing our tag team champion, Beetle and Grim, which has been a lot of fun. So there's just year 3 is stacked. Year 3 is stacked. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Nothing right now. Year 3 was the most just kind of, hey, let's make all the OP champions here, because we're still using those champions to this day, and I don't know that that's going to change anytime soon. Lurid Legato, if you level items, like with blacksmithing contracts or duplicates, and later find a rare upgrade to the item, do the levels transfer over? It's not that they transfer, they maintain. The item levels exist in that slot. Think of it more as item slot levels, and as you raise the rarity, the item levels sit there and then just they're all different multipliers, so they just sit there and get multiplied by a higher rarity effect. So think of it as the item slot has a rarity item that's a multiplier, it has an item level that's a multiplier, and then it also has a guild like shiny or golden that's a multiplier. They all maintain and affect each other. They can only go up, they can't go back down. Sword Razor, what's your opinion on Valentine so far? I think Valentine brings a ton to, so far to Azaka farming. Not a major ton to Azaka farming, but has made an increase for me in Azaka farming. I also think that in pushing formations, like in an Ashara formation where I'm not using Briv, which might shock people, I don't always use Briv in my Ashara formations. I would, she swapped Valentine in for Penelope, and Valentine did multiple orders of magnitude more work than Penelope. And I'm a huge Penelope fan, so I think she has. I think already out of the gate she has places in some formations where she's going to come in and shine. And I think as people play around more with her version of this positional formation stuff, she can end up pretty strong as a support, but we'll have to wait and see. Honda Hero, do champions have critical hits that do critical damage? As a general rule, no. I know only Caddy Bree mentions critical hits, correct? Are critical hits damages that cause bud spikes? So the only champion in the game that can critical is Caddy Bree. Where's she at? Here we go. Here's Caddy Bree. And I have her in the cartoon style. It's animated Caddy Bree. There we go. Special guest star Caddy Bree. It's done in the style of the cartoons. Because why not? I mean, if you're going to be in with Dungeon Master, you better be in your cartoon outfit. So, Caddy Bree has an ability literally called Critical Hit. Caddy Bree's attack has a chance to crit for bonus damage. You'll notice this chance went over 100%. And you may be like, what? So the way her critical hit works, because she is a DPS, if it's 100% chance to crit, it's going to crit every time she attacks. Makes sense, right? What's going to happen with the percentages above 100% is it's going to change the multiplier on the bonus damage. Now, it's super interesting for Caddy Bree because if we look, you can actually see this is only visual change to damage numbers. When she attacks, you will see a damage number come up that is actually a golden. If we can get at this to trigger. Come on. Oh, she's just getting stunned out of all of her attacks. All right, I need to back up. I need to back up and throw someone in. Oh, gazers. I hate you. There we go. It was a golden number. You'll see, and that is telling you that it criticaled. It hit for crit damage. As it gets into a higher value of crit damage, if it triggers a higher set, right there it did. It's hard to see, but in parentheses it had an X2. So it has an extra multiplier for damage when it had a chance for that once it's over 100%. That is how that works. Now, if I level her up, I am going to do... when she gets a crit, her attack cooldown is reduced by 1.5 seconds, for 10 seconds. I do this one no matter what in the zone because basically she's critting 100% of the time, so why not just attack faster and crit 100% of the time? And I've leveled her up, and now you can see whenever she attacks, she's getting a much larger multiplier. It's now X5. As you can see off of that, because now I have a 522% chance to crit. So I'm going to see an X5 guaranteed on everything with a chance for an X6. So multipliers on the bonus damage. So her crits actually do lots and lots of damage for her. Now, here's the thing. Her ultimate... Empty the quiver. Caddy Bree shoots 6 arrows at once from her bow. Each enemy hit by her arrows can be crit by all champions using Caddy Bree's crit chance and damage bonus for 30 seconds. This is the way you are supposed to be able to propagate critical hits out to other champions in your party based on Empty the Quiver. I'm still up in the air. I know that when I fire this off, I definitely see some damage spiking. I see a huge chunk of damage up front. It's a nice damage bonus. And I tend to see things fall over. I tend to see my bud spike. But visually, you don't see that golden attack come up off other champions. Which I've passed that feedback on. That would make sure that we know, hey, it's damaging correctly, but we don't see that currently. But this is how you would potentially spread her crit to other things. Its best use case scenarios is on a boss, right? So everybody, is critting the boss, especially whoever your DPS is. If it isn't Caddy Bree, if she's supporting, this is how she allows you to use that crit chance as a support functionality. Oh boy, that's a lot of stuff on the screen. Get me some other champions in here. Stat. Who am I missing? Oh, it's Ghazrick. All right. Sympaticos, I have roughly half of the champions now. Nice. With my non-free time gates, so where you're actually spending pieces, should I be specifically targeting retired champions? No. And if so, is there an easy list of who those would be? There is an easy list. You can look at my guides on the subreddit. There's a link from Moobot here in a moment. I actually separate the group. So I have time gate champions and then event champions. I'm populating basically any champion that has arrived already in year 3. Like their event has arrived already in year 3 is now a time gate only champion. And obviously year 1 and 2 champions are all time gate only champions now. Your decision shouldn't be retired champions. Your decision when choosing champions should be, who is going to give me progress? Now, you may already have pushing formations set up. You think that you've got those decked out, but you have to also keep in mind you need varieties of champions for progress in patron variants as well. Also, potentially in Trials of Mount Tiamat, if you get restricted out, you still need to be able to build functional formations, and having more options if you get stat restricted or just straight up patron restricted or patron and stat restricted. You need to flesh out these optional scenario type of situations with champions that are going to be functional and help you. Just the fact that their event might be coming around again at some point within the next year doesn't mean you delay the acquiring of them. Now, if it's a champion that you're just like, well, this is just a collectible champion, I don't think this is going to help me a whole lot, but at some point I want to catch them all. Sure, you can wait for those. You can wait for those until their event returns, if they're arriving in the event again. When you get to that point of ownership of champions, then sure, then target retired, useful retireds first, and then let the others cycle back in, if you're not in a hurry to get them. But generally speaking, even at 50 champions, there's probably still a good number that are still going to be useful for you in a formation at some point in dealing with all the different types of variants in the game, and you should target those useful champions first. Hinkrock, if I save a formation, does that formation save for the whole campaign, or is it per adventure? So you get a bunch of formation saves. You get 50 of them. The number's down here at the bottom. It's just kind of pushed off the page for some reason. You get 50 of them. This is for the campaign. Because I don't have a patron selected, it is for the base campaign. If I had a patron selected, each patron also gets 50 save formations for that campaign. So there's a lot of save formations. It is not per adventure. That would be wild. Beyond the Witchlight, as my voice goes away. No, you want to be able to run, like I created this starting formation, and it's going to run everywhere. I don't want to have to duplicate this every time I start a new adventure. It is campaign wide, but patrons mean you need a different set because there's going to be stuff restricted out. So the entire campaign gets 50 different saves. I've never filled that up in a campaign. I don't know that I ever will. So there's plenty of saves. What else we got? Don Jazz TV noob here. Welcome. How should I prioritize spending gems? Should I focus on familiars, chests, silver or golden, and then patrons? I'm going to assume unlocking patrons. Yes, patrons. So it depends on your kind of where you are in the game. There is still a functional guide for this that is a collaboration between Mars and I think it's still under this link that the bot is going to post in chat. Let me double check. Mars isn't updating these anymore, but yes, if you open that link and you scroll down, the third visual aid is a gems visual aid, and it contains my thoughts on kind of priorities for gem spending, put in a visual form by Mars. The only thing that really needs upgraded that never got updated is that the mage hand. Oh no, it did get changed. So it's 250 gems, and it should be the first thing that you purchase nowadays. So right off the bat, you're fresh out of the tutorial. Maybe you've done 1 or 2 adventures. You've probably got 250 or more gems. Buy that mage hand from the gem store. Hold F, click on one of these squares out here, place the familiar, and let it do some clicking for you, at least at the lower stages, so you don't get carpal tunnel, right? But after that, as a new player, those starting champions that you have, like Brunor, and Celeste and Nieli, these are your core champions. They're the 12 champions that the game just gives you by default. Their gear comes from those silver and gold chests, the regular silver and gold chests. These ones. You want to open those chests as soon as you get them, and they're going to give you gear. Like the silvers are going to give you gear up through blue rarity. So until all of your champions are at least in green rarity, you want to spend all of those core champions. You want to spend your gems on silver chests, because some gear, some kind of multiplier is better than no multiplier. So look for early on spending gems on like the first thing, that Mage Hand Familiar, point. Then silver chests until everything is at least green or better. If you see any empty slots on those core champions, or you see white gear, probably still buy silvers. Open your chest as soon as you get them. But once you are at least green, then start buying gold chests. There's no reason to then at that point spend gems on silver chests. Just spend the gems on the gold chests. Get that chance at the guaranteed blue upgrades and the chance at get guaranteed blue upgrades and a chance at the purple upgrades, the epics. Plus all the benefits that come from gold chests, like feats and large potions and contracts and all that stuff. When you are able to unlock a patron, there is a one-time unlock cost. It can include gems. The Mert has time gate pieces. Other times there's chests requirements. Once you can do this, then yes, you want to save up and unlock that patron, because once they're unlocked, they're available forever, and you can go back to your normal spending habits everywhere else. But patrons have perks, which are permanent forms of power that you want. They have a shop with stuff like a time gate piece every week, a Modron chest every week, lots of one-time purchases of powerful or neat stuff. And then in the future, you'll then spend currency on patron chests. I wouldn't do it right away. That can help you gear up all your champions, all your event champions. All right. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. That guide, that visual aid should help you along the way. Dubious Dan, new player, trying to figure out the best DPS given a limited roster. See a lot of older guides recommending Ashara. Yeah. But when I go to use her with Potpourri short people at 4-5, she doesn't seem to outdamage Strix. Ooh. I mean, if you're triggering both bonds, I'm going to guess as a new player, maybe your gear on Strix is better. Here's the thing. Strix has a downside, and that's her range. The range of her debuff to really get the effect out of Strix, things have to be close to the formation. That means on the left-hand side of where these familiars are, probably over in this point to the left. That's where her stinky little debuff kicks in. You can see there's an icon that'll pop up on champions when it appears, or on enemies when it appears. Anything on the right-hand side of the screen doesn't get that debuff, so Strix isn't doing as much damage, whereas Ashara is going to be doing damage everywhere. And if you are a fully double bonded Ashara, it should be okay. I would say what might be happening is maybe the champions that you're using to bond Ashara aren't as strong as the champions that you're using to support Strix, and or Strix's gear is way better. Early on, when there's when you can't compare necessarily apples to oranges, you can see big swings that way. But the best way to figure out like what's my best DPS in this situation is just to push as far as you can area wise. And once you're there and you've kind of hit a wall and bounced off and are just farming on a level, switch, like change things up, try different champion combinations, try a different DPS, and build the formation around them as it should be based off whatever their personal requirements are, and the best possible scenario for that, and see if that lets you go further. That's the best thing to do. The base damage up here and the running average, those breakdowns don't help you build formations. Bud and the area you can push to are the combination of things you're looking for. I mean, even Bud on its own isn't the best way to do it. Sometimes it's literally just how far can you push. So it's trial and error. Buggish, how do you start Trials of Mount Tiamat? You have to have completed Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, the campaign. Not everything in the campaign, but the base storylines, these top-level storyline things, you can ignore the variants. You have to push all the way through, all the way over here, and complete El Terrell's Last Stand. This boss is the one and only current DPS race in the game. So it really takes you knowing how to build a formation and overcome it. Once you've beat this, you unlock Patron Zariel, and you get access to Trials of Mount Tiamat, which is the end of the Legendary Forge. This is how you gain access to legendary gear in the game, which is the orange outer border. And then you see it scrolls down, and there's a legendary effect at the bottom. That's legendary gear, so it's a whole other level of power for champions. Lurking Rider, the devs have mentioned updates to the Modron system in the future. Coming soon, TM. If Nordom were to be part of this nebulous update, what would you change about or add to his abilities? I think Nordom is fine. Nordom is, like, the Modron system, I think, is what they're... I don't know. Maybe I'm not hearing this. Or maybe I haven't heard what you've heard. The Modrons, as far as I understand... the Modron core functionality isn't changing. They just added supercharging. That was a big update to give it even more power. They might nebulously tweak automation functionality, but I'm not sure what would need to be changed there. What I do know they've said is they're going to add more cores that are more specialized in what they do. Like they just added a magic core, which was supposed to boost magic-based champions. It's a very glass cannon kind of system, but also works on a melee champion like Kron. It didn't necessarily... I don't know that it necessarily met my definition of a magic boosting core, but whatever. So yeah, I mean, I would presume more types of specialized cores. I mean, you could get as granular as each patron having a core that you could purchase from the patron shop would be neat. I don't think any of this requires Nordom to change. If they were going to change Nordom, I would want them to bump up his XP multiplier. It takes it. I've put a fairly large investment in a champion that doesn't have an always on ability. It would be nice if it gave more of a bonus, but I'm still okay with it if it doesn't. Silly Simon, is there a way to temporarily remove champions' items? Nope. Or force them to use weaker ones? Nope. And that's not something I think they would ever invest time into. Laura Legato, it's off topic, so if there's time at the end, no, we'll do it right now. Would you be able to explain to someone who just unlocked Azaka how to set up an Azaka farm? Oh boy. Wow. This is going to be a TLDR version. I have done extended conversations about this in the past. You can probably find a dated one that gives you the general specifics of it on, well, there should be one in my guide for Azaka. There should be a link to that in my guide for unlocking Azaka, or if it's not in that, it's in my new player reference. They might be on the C&E Games YouTube. But here's how Azaka works. Functionally, what you need for an Azaka farm is you need to get to a boss level. Let's go back to 70. And to get to a boss level, you want to attempt to kill off everything except, like, you want to kill the boss, and you want to leave alive, ideally, one of the minions. You could potentially leave the boss alive if it's a melee boss, but not a ranged boss. But that's only in a scenario where you can keep the boss away from your party indefinitely. Otherwise, it will wreck you. The idea is you end up in a situation where you can tank one enemy, like one normal enemy, and never have it die. Once you set that scenario up, so you're just left with one enemy, you remove your damage, starting with your DPS, remove all your familiars, everything, and then start removing champions that don't contribute to gold find and then replacing them with ones that do. Early on, Azaka, obviously required for Azaka farming. Jarlaxle. Brunor has a little bit of gold find. Dritz has some gold find. These are at least the 4 basic ones by the time you unlock Azaka that you should be able to use in Azaka farming. However, the benefit of Azaka farming goes up the more champions you have. We just talked about Merylwen and Rust and their interactions and multipliers. We talked a little bit about Freely. Krull is a huge one. There are major contributors to gold find. Valentine now. Stacking all of these together while not worrying about killing the enemy is what flips gold farming on its head. Because normally you have to just deal with doing a lot of damage. Instead, you're dealing with doing a lot of gold find. And then Azaka's Tigers, when you hit her ultimate, bully the enemy for its lunch money. What does that mean? Basically, the Tigers come out, they scare the enemy just drops all their money on the ground as if they died, and you pick it up, and then you do it again, and again, and again. That is the core of Azaka farming. You're not killing anything. You're leaving one enemy alive and just taking its money over and over again. So that's kind of it. You're going to have to check out one of the videos to get the full thing so you see what's going on, because that's kind of the TLDR version. Honda Hero follow-up. If not a critical hit, then is a bud spike because the RNG generated a huge number. I mean, there's different ways to bud spike. We'll cover, I guess I'll go over a few of them. I've been stuck at a level and then bingo, bud increased a noticeable amount and I can get more areas done. It depends on the champions you're using. If you have someone like Freely in, again, Freely applies his Luck of Yandala, applies stacks of debuffs to enemies. If you get multiple of the same stack, like especially the damage debuff on an enemy, suddenly the amount of extra damage they do could increase by orders of magnitude. That would trigger what you are referring to as a bud spike, where suddenly you're doing way more damage and your bud shoots up. Also, Krull. If you get a trigger where you have lots of stacks of plagues, and then you kill one, and Virulent Strain procs, and now suddenly they've got 20 or 30 or 40 stacks, and then you hit that one, huge bud spikes. So any champion that has a mechanic that way could trigger random bud spikes. It could also be that that you have a champion that buffs the party based off the number of enemies on the screen, and as you get more and more enemies, you could reach a threshold which has caused the bud to be to a certain level where now you can kill everything, but then you move forward and then your bud starts dropping because it doesn't have that bonus anymore. There's a lot of different ways. Just trying to progress normally, you could create bud spikes, but they tend to have to do with the abilities of the champions you have in the formation. So if you're seeing random damage creation, you just need to review your champions and figure out where it's coming from. It could be a crit from Caddy Bree, but that's only if she's your DPS and you have a random crit chance. If you're firing her ultimate off, that could be it. If you're using people's ultimates and they have damage bonuses to the party when you fire them off, that could be it. Yeah. DeMargera, is there any way to see when I get my next timepiece? No. It's just going to drop every 5 to 6 days. It's not really... The game doesn't display that at all. Silly Simon, is C&E building your champ? Is it on the new champ roadmap? So if that was a thing that was going on, I could not tell you. I could not tell you. So there's no way I can even answer that question, one way or the other. The only time I would ever be able to answer a question like that is when I was officially announcing a champion of mine in the game. So that, yeah, I can't answer that question. Gaarawarr, when will I get my... Hold on. When will I get my free slot 12 champ? So I'll have 2 in every slot. I have 2 and 3 and 4 champs. I mean, slot 12, if you only have Archon in slot 12, you can push through the campaigns to get to Tomb of Annihilation and get Azaka. Azaka is the evergreen champion in slot 12. We were just talking about her. You get her in Tomb of Annihilation. Otherwise, you're just going to have to wait for a natural time gate to deliver a champion, or an event to deliver a champion in slot 12. What do we got coming up? Or you're going to have to use a manual time gate to get something in slot 12. Nope, we got Omen and Prudence next event. They're returning, and then a Garen's Day is going to be Lazaps and Corazon. So yeah, no slot 12s coming up there. No, that'll be Dahani and Torgar. So yeah, no slot 12s coming up anytime soon in events. So you got to go get Azaka, or you got to use a time gate. Lurking Rider, both you and Trevor have had characters in streamed games. Sure. All things aligning perfectly. Would you like to see them as part of Idle Champions? Here we go again. Or do you have an alternate character that you'd prefer? From what I've heard of Sordal and Scene of Garlock, I would love to have them in the game, but only if it's something you'd want to. I mean, I would love to have a character I've played show up in a game. I am not a professional TTRPGer by any means. There used to be an occasional streamed game on this channel called Storyteller Mars Presents during the quarterly days of streaming that featured myself, Mars as the DM, myself playing Gaarawarr Grudgekeeper, my OC dwarf. Trevor played Garlock. Just, yeah, my almost antithesis. It's a goblin. Is it sorcerer, Trevor? He likes fire. Thinks he's a wizard, but is a sorcerer. Isn't that the way it goes? And then like Lee was. We had Lee Goldberg, who's the creator of Pancakes, in there, and then we had. Oh no. Trevor, who's your co-host? What's the I have forgotten her name, and now I'm upset at myself. ADHD brain. I want to remember it, so I can't. We had another person, also RoboGoblin, guest starred at one point, but those aren't a thing anymore. I've also I've played I have a Minotaur Barbarian Monk that I played in a game that Sean ran. I think we streamed that one. That's the Storm Coming. The Storm Coming is super cool as a character, I think. And then recently for Sean's birthday, I played Sordal, which is a champion inspired by Bardic Inspiration. Sordal is a permanently animated sentient dancing sword who is a bard. Allie, yes, Allie Deichmann. Thank you, Star Chaser. Allie was also in the Storyteller Mars Presents. Honestly, I mean, I think early on I was like, oh, Gaarawarr would be cool in the game if that was ever a thing. Now I'm like, you know what? I mean, yeah, sure. My dwarven character that I love would be cool in the game. But you know what would be cooler? A permanently animated sentient sword that's a bard. Just because, I mean, do I want more dwarves in the game? Yes. Yes. Would I love Gaarawarr in a game? Yes. But if you have an opportunity to add a permanently animated sentient sword to your game that's a bard, Hell yes. So I don't know. I don't know. Yes. So who knows? Who knows? I mean, would it be neat? Sure, but I don't. I think I've talked about this before. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Usually, additions to the game, character additions to the game are part content, part marketing. I mean, if we're being completely honest, to bring in people from from outside communities into the game, right? I am here. I am already here, and the people that know me are already here. That would be adding characters like that into the game would be almost more fan service. Unless we ended up on a huge stream somewhere somehow. Narcs, when running the event free play, should I reset after 50 levels to get another chest? Generally speaking, if you've done the variants, then yes, you're just farming gear. So you're going every 50 areas. Shevik74, I'm the only one that misses Yuck of Landala. Sorry, I've started saying it right. Sucks to pronounce things correctly. Star Chaser 43. Now that you have a Bardic Inspiration song, you're no longer saving channel points to appear on Bardic Inspiration. I mean, kind of, because again, I do have a theme song, so I don't necessarily need to make an appearance. I am still saving them mainly because they've given me no reason to spend them. I currently have 907.1 thousand channel points in this channel. Science Guy with the last question, because we got to get out of here, because Trevor's getting fidgety. Science Guy, what instrument does an animated sentient sword play to accompany its singing? Bold of you to assume it plays instruments. It has a mage hand that it can use to help it do things, but it has a Sortle, they're non-binary. Sortle has a drum. I don't think this was talked about in our game, but has a little drum that's the small drum that's on the side of. It's kind of attached to the side so that if they shake in a certain way, it plays the drum. That's more the drum beats of war type of thing. Outside of that, it's more just the music of a sword slicing through the air, right? That kind of stuff. Otherwise, it's just a cappella. It's just really bad a cappella. They are a bard. I did not say they are good at singing. Yeah. All right, folks, that's everything. Thank you all for hanging out today. Thanks, Trevor, for grabbing the questions and putting up with my shenaniganry. The streams will resume on Monday with a limited schedule next week. They'll post the schedule, but I believe they've already said, because it's a holiday in Canadian land, I think the only thing happening on Monday is weekly patronage, maybe? So stay tuned to the socials to see the schedule for next week. Going out again. There's no song specifically for any of these champions, so I went somewhat related in one I haven't played in a while. This is Lords of the Ice for the Frost Giant song because Ghazrick likes it in the snow. Have a great weekend, everybody. Oh, in about an hour ish. Come over to my channel, Twitch TV/Gaarawarr. It's Final Fantasy for Saturday, except the F is silent, because we like the alliteration, but we don't like the sound. We're playing Final Fantasy II, the Pixel Remasters, and it's a blast. Come join us. Bye, everybody.
Stories told, stomping through the snow everywhere we go. Reapers of the snow, we will shiver in our wake as the ground begins to shake. The breaking of your hope will seal your fate with a love